What you're about to hear is a true account of a young soldier declared dead in a military hospital. This is the story of Dr. George Ritchie's experience. It's a first-hand account. The details are his, the records are real, and the question it leaves behind is one that none of us can ignore. It was December 1943 at an army base in Texas. The wind was cold and sharp, but the young soldiers kept training. Among them was 20-year-old George Ritchie, a medical recruit who had dreamed of becoming a doctor. The world was at war and George wanted to help, but no one, not even George himself, knew that within hours he would be facing a much different kind of journey. That night, George came down with a severe case of pneumonia. It was the kind that moved fast and could be deadly. The doctors gave him medication and kept him under watch, but his condition worsened. His fever dropped, his breathing slowed, then it stopped completely. A doctor checked his pulse, listened for a heartbeat, and found nothing. At 11:10 p.m., George Ritchie was officially declared dead. A sheet was placed over his body. But according to George, that was not the end. The hospital records say George Ritchie was dead. No pulse, no breathing, cold to the touch, a sheet over his head. But what George would later describe makes this story hard to explain. He said he felt like he had just overslept. He needed to be somewhere. He opened his eyes and saw the hospital room, the lights, the walls, even his own bed, with a body still lying under a sheet. At first, he didn't understand what that was. Everything looked normal, but something felt off. He got up and walked out of the room. No one stopped him. No one even looked at him. He called out, but no one replied. He had only one thought. He needed to get to Richmond, Virginia. That's where he was supposed to be. He remembered having plans there, a life, a future. He had to get back to it. Suddenly, he found himself moving across great distances in no time at all. He wasn't walking or running. He was just there, in another place, instantly. Time and space didn't seem to work the way they used to. Before he knew it, he was in Richmond, a street he recognized, a city he knew well, but something was still wrong. He walked into buildings, he tried to talk to people, but no one saw him, no one heard him. It was then that fear set in, deep, quiet fear. He was in a place he knew, but he was invisible, alone. Then something changed. A light appeared beside him. It started small, but grew brighter and stronger. It wasn't blinding, it didn't hurt his eyes. Instead, it felt full of life. In the center of the light was a figure, not a shadow, not a dream, something deeply real. George said this figure radiated love, but not the kind that just makes you feel good. This love saw everything. It knew him fully, and still it loved him. Without being told, George knew who this was. This was Christ. Not the Sunday school version, not a statue, a real living presence that felt more true than anything he had ever experienced. They didn't speak with words. Thoughts came like waves. He felt completely known and completely loved. Then the journey began. The being of light took George to places he could hardly describe. The first looked like Earth. There were streets, bars, even bedrooms. But something was wrong. The people there were like shadows. They screamed, they fought, they reached for things they couldn't touch. Bottles, people, power. These were souls who had died still craving things from the world. Addicts, abusers, people who only wanted control or pleasure. But now, they couldn't get what they wanted. They were stuck. Other souls were lost in confusion. One sat at a desk writing with no paper. Another repeated the same sentence over and over. They didn't even know they were dead. They weren't trapped by fire or chains. They were trapped by their own desires, their own choices. Next came a place that was quiet, too quiet. George saw people who were smart, calm, and alone. These were souls who had thought they didn't need God. They had lived full of pride in their own minds. Now, they stood behind invisible walls. They could see the light, but they turned away. Not because they were in pain, but because they refused to believe in anything beyond themselves. There was no screaming here, no fire, just emptiness. Cold, endless emptiness. A quiet kind of sadness. Then they rose upward. The air felt warm, not like summer heat, but like love and peace all around them. George heard music, not with his ears, but with his soul. They entered a place filled with light and harmony. He saw radiant beings who were learning, sharing, and celebrating truth. It was like a great university, but there was no pride, no competition. Each soul was happy for the other's growth. George wanted to stay, but he was told he couldn't. Then came the question, not spoken aloud, but felt deep in his spirit. What have you done with your life to show me? George saw his life all at once, not as a movie, but as effects. How every choice he made had touched others. He saw the hurt he had caused, the kindness he had held back, the chances he had missed to help. He realized the question wasn't about fame or success, it was about love. Had he lived for himself or for others? He was told it wasn't his time. He had more to do. He had to go back. Suddenly, he was falling. The warmth faded. The light disappeared. Then, slam. He hit the hospital bed. His chest burned. His whole body hurt. A nurse had given him a shot of adrenaline to the heart, a last try to bring him back. It worked. George Ritchie was alive. For years, George never told anyone about what had happened. Not his army friends, not his teachers, not even the pastors he later met. He didn't want to be laughed at or called crazy. But the memory stayed with him, like a fire that never went out. He became a psychiatrist. He studied near-death experiences, and eventually, he told his own story. First in talks, then in his book, Return from Tomorrow. He didn't try to prove anything. He just told what he had seen. So what do you think? Was George Ritchie's experience a glimpse beyond the veil, or something else entirely? He wasn't seeking attention. He waited for years before sharing what happened. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't to convince, it was to bear witness. If his story made you think, even for a moment, ask yourself the same question that echoed through the encounter. What are you doing with your life to show love? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe in near-death experiences? Was this divine or just the mind in crisis? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, consider subscribing for more real accounts that challenge the line between this world and the next.